You could say that Himeko Nova is one of the most popular characters among players right now, including myself. Why? Because Himeko Nova has one major advantage that I think is truly unique, and something not many other characters can offer: her incredible flexibility. She can be played alongside Astral Express characters, which happen to be some of the very first characters we get when starting the game. That means if you're a brand new honkaistarrail player, you can already use Himeko Nova at a really high level without having to wait until you've collected a bunch of premium characters. But don't get the wrong idea. Just because her teammates can be free characters doesn't mean Himeko Nova deals low damage. In fact, it's the complete opposite. The damage she can output is absolutely monstrous. And because of that, in today's video, we are going to talk about the best teammates you can pair with Himeko Nova in version 4.4. Without wasting any more time, I'm Hoyo Station, and today we are taking a deep dive into the Himeko Nova teammates tier list for version 4.4. Let's do this. Alright, before we jump into the tier list itself, I want to quickly go over how Himeko Nova's kit actually works. As I've mentioned in previous videos, Himeko Nova is a hyper carry DPS character designed to work alongside other teammates, especially Astral Express characters. One of Himeko Nova's most unique mechanics is her assist skill. Through this mechanic, other teammates can trigger additional attacks from Himeko Nova. In other words, having Himeko Nova on your team allows your supports and sustains to contribute damage whenever it's their turn. Her assist skill points are generated through a skill called Upraised the Vanward Crescent. Whenever this skill is used, Himeko Nova gains assist skill points that can later be utilized by other teammates. Besides this mechanic, Himeko Nova is also well known for her ultimate, which deals extremely high damage. What's interesting is that this ultimate performs well against both single target and multi-target situations, because it has a mechanic that somewhat resembles a bounce attack. And that's not all. Himeko Nova also comes with a variety of self-buffs built directly into her kit. One example is her talent of Fire and Farfaring. Through this talent, Himeko Nova gains resistance penetration, critical damage, and can even ignore enemy weakness types while reducing their toughness. That's exactly why I think Himeko Nova performs exceptionally well in modes like Apocalyptic Shadow, where Weakness Break plays a huge role in maximizing your damage output. Most importantly, her assist skill can be fully utilized by Astral Express members and Trailblaze companions. Those characters gain an additional action after triggering assist skills. Just from this alone, it's pretty clear that Himeko Nova performs best when paired with characters such as Sunday, Danhang, Weld, and other Astral Express members. But I also understand that for newer players, it's impossible to have all those characters right away. That's why we're moving directly into the tier list to see which characters work best with Himeko Nova. As usual, before we start, let's quickly go over the tier structure. This tier list consists of Tier S, Tier A, Tier B, Tier C, and Tier D. Each tier represents how effective a character is when paired with Himeko Nova. The stronger the synergy between their kits, the higher their placement will be. Now let's start with Tier D. Tier D is the lowest tier and contains characters whose kits simply don't synergize well with Himeko Nova or provide meaningful benefits for her. So if you already have Himeko Nova and are planning to include characters from Tier D on her team, I honestly wouldn't recommend it. Not because these characters are bad, it's simply because they don't really help Himeko Nova maximize her potential. That's why I think you're better off looking at higher tier alternatives, where the value they provide is much more noticeable. After discussing Tier D, let's move on to Tier C. The characters in this tier are slightly better than those in Tier D. They can still be used and still provide certain benefits, but the value they offer isn't fully optimized for Himeko Nova. Here I've placed several Trailblazers such as Destruction MC, Harmony MC, and Elation MC. To be honest, all three can still be played alongside Himeko Nova, but the synergy isn't particularly strong. So unless you're really lacking options, I'd recommend looking for stronger alternatives. There are also characters like Danhang and March 7th, who are still usable during the early stages of the game. However, in my opinion, both of these characters should be replaced as soon as you obtain better options. Meanwhile, characters such as Asta, Gepard, Natasha, and other early game sustains are still perfectly fine temporary choices, especially for new players, until your account becomes more developed. Now some of you might be wondering about the Herta. Does the Herta work well with Himeko Nova? Honestly, she can work, but I wouldn't say they're particularly compatible. The reason is that the Herta prefers to function as the main DPS of a team, while Himeko Nova also wants to be the center of attention. As a result, their rotations often clash and prevent either character from reaching their full potential. Can you use them together? Sure, but if you have a better option available, I'd recommend replacing her. Cyrene, however, is a different story. Cyrene offers several universal buffs that Himeko Nova can actually benefit from, such as true damage buffs. While some parts of her kit won't be fully utilized, she still provides enough value to justify using her. So if you don't yet have characters from the higher tiers, I think Cyrene is still a reasonable option. Next, let's move on to Tier B. The characters in this tier are already worth seriously considering for your Himeko team. They provide much more meaningful contributions compared to the characters in Tier C, and overall their synergy feels significantly more appropriate. One example is Preservation MC. While the sustain they provide isn't as strong as characters like Gepard, Natasha, or Gligar, Preservation MC can still help trigger Himeko Nova's assist skill while benefiting from the extra action mechanic. That's an important part of her gameplay. That said, if you already have access to stronger sustain options, Preservation MC is definitely worth replacing. Besides Preservation MC, there are also characters like Alexa, Bronya, and Silver Wolf. In my opinion, all three work fairly well alongside Himeko Nova. Bronya can be considered a mini version of Sunday, providing buffs and action advance that allow Himeko Nova to take more turns. Of course, you will lose some of the bonuses that specifically interact with Trailblaze companions. Meanwhile, Silver Wolf brings valuable debuffs, defense reduction, and weakness implant, all of which help Himeko Nova break enemies much faster. As for Alexa, he remains an interesting option because he can increase the damage output of erudition characters. The synergy isn't quite as perfect as what you will find in higher tiers, but he's still a solid temporary option while waiting for more ideal teammates. This tier also includes several support characters that should already be familiar to most of you, such as Huohuo, Hyacinth, Robin, Ruanmei, and also Tingyun. All 5 of these characters provide strong value for Himeko Nova. Huohuo offers additional energy generation, Hyacinth contributes extra damage while improving team survivability, Robin provides an incredibly powerful attack buff, Ruanmei brings a wide variety of strong universal buffs, and finally, Tingyun remains one of the best 4-star supports in the game thanks to her energy regeneration capabilities, which fit perfectly into hyper carry teams like Himeko Nova. So if you don't have Sunday yet, Tingyun is still an excellent choice. Now let's move on to Tier A. This is where we start seeing characters that I consider genuinely proper teammates for Himeko Nova. In this tier, we have Morton X Blade, Cypher, Triby, and Sparkle. Let's start with Morton X Blade. This character is arguably one of the most universal units in the game right now. He brings powerful debuffs, respectable personal damage, and can fit into almost any team compositions, including Himeko Nova teams. On top of that, both characters share the fire attribute, making them particularly effective when facing enemies weak to fire. Cypher takes a slightly different approach. Her unique ability allows her to store damage and unleash it at the perfect moment. So if you're able to set up your rotation properly alongside Himeko Nova, Cypher can help create massive burst damage windows when enemies are at their most vulnerable. Then we have Triby and Sparkle, who I personally consider extremely proper support options for Himeko Nova. Triby can increase overall damage output while providing highly valuable buffs. Meanwhile, Sparkle offers action advance and additional skill points, making Himeko Nova's as skill rotations feel much smoother and more comfortable to play. And finally, we've reached Tier S. This is the highest tier and contains the absolute best teammates you can pair with Himeko Nova. Honestly, I think most of you can already guess who is here. This tier consists of RMC, Sane, Danang PT, and Welt. The reasoning is actually pretty simple. These characters genuinely feel like they were designed to work alongside Himeko Nova. RMC provides true damage support, which significantly boosts the team's overall damage output. Sandy offers almost everything Himeko Nova could ever want, including critical rate, critical damage, action advance, and energy regeneration, all of which allow her to access her ultimate much more frequently. As for Danang PT, I personally consider him the best sustain option currently available for Himeko Nova teams. Not only does he provide excellent protection, but he also offers additional buffs that perfectly complement Himeko Nova's needs during combat. And if you happen to own Danang's signature Lacon, things get even better, guys. He will be able to provide additional healing while simultaneously generating shields through his kit. Pretty amazing, right? Finally, we have Welt. Some of you may be wondering why Welt is ranked all the way up in Tier S. The answer is simple, guys. Welt is one of the most accessible high-value characters for new players. You can obtain him through the standard banner or through the selector. On top of that, Welt provides highly useful debuffs and offers tremendous overall value for newer accounts. His effect may not be as powerful as Mortenex's blades, but because he's an Astral Express member and significantly easier to obtain, I believe Welt absolutely deserves his place in Tier S. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. What do you think about this version 4.4 Himeko Nova teammates tier list? Feel free any comments down below. And don't forget to check out my other videos because they are no less cool. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video.